Hello, everyone, and welcome to Two Goals. I'm Maria Laura,
And I'm Katia.
and today we would like to start by thanking our incredible audiences who have taken where we are today. After 3.5 months, we're happy to share with you that Two Goals podcast has been played at least once in each continent, which means there are people out there working next to us to accomplish our purpose, inspire future leadership in football while telling the stories of those professionals who have walked in massively rough paths to make a better and more inclusive football industry for all. We cannot thank you enough. And to keep up with this productive spirit, we are proud to introduce you to today's guest. Coming from Mexico with a bachelor in textile design, a master in football business, and even a coaching degree, an entrepreneur, and amateur football expertise at a federation level, and the current head of Liga MX Women, the highest division of women's football in Mexico. Let's all introduce to Mariana Gutiérrez Bernárdez. Mariana, it is a great deal to have you here with us.
Mariana, we all recall episodes from our childhood and teenage years being related to something. And in the majority of the cases here in this podcast, our guests connect these times with football. In your particular case, what was the role of football during your childhood and as a youngster? How this involvement with football started?
First of all, thank you guys for the invitation. Maria is the Katia, and with a very nice introduction also. That's a great question. It is and continues to be my life, football. I've been playing it for as long as I can remember. Football, along with my family, built me up. It gave me skills that today are my competitive advantages, but most important, it gave me a path of purpose, and I get to be proud of who I am, You see, it helped me feel a sense of belonging. As A.B. Wambach wrote in her book, it gave me a wolf pack. I understand the meaning of teamwork and leadership and the fundamentals of life. So early today, I was analyzing how I got involved in football. And although I am convinced that it is in my DNA and I love watching the games with my grandfather, I have a story that marked my path. You see, I have a cousin that when I was born, he had a hard time and made my life impossible. And that is why I chose the ball. When I was playing against him, I felt this kind of superpower. And still, when I get the chance to play, I feel the same way. It taught me to transcend simply because I can. Now I'm proud to call him my big brother, Jose. And as I got older, I understood that I just wanted to belong, as anyone else. But most importantly, I had the chance to choose the ball and not the doll, as the FA campaign says. So as you can see, the word no just doesn't fit in my vocabulary. That's the impact it had on me when I was 5 years old. What the moment gave me, what sports has given me, is what I work for every single day. And so I consider myself so privileged because now I'm part of a bigger pack that did have the chance, and we get to lead the way to those who haven't. And the Liga MX Feminil, the pro women league, for those who don't know about it, back here in Mexico, we have a professional league for the women, and we share the same purpose. I mean, the ultimate goal is that little girls don't just only dream of becoming a professional football player, but that they get to live the dream without the need to be brave, and that they get to be proud of who they choose to be. We are building the perfect environment to develop their superpower. We are building the leaders of tomorrow. We can say we are building our own Avengers, right?
Definitely. I mean, what you're saying, it's really, really huge, which is, it's not that you cannot choose the doll, as you mentioned, is that you should choose, you should be able to choose what you want. I mean, you want to choose the doll or the football, you can choose them both. I mean, that's an amazing way to start this interview, because I think we can all feel really connected to that, the idea of women being able to make their own decisions and being supported because of that. And actually, because of, I mean, now that you mentioned this, you choose when you were a childhood and during your childhood and when you were a youngster, you choose to play with your cousin, and you were kind of empowered in that. But when we were researching your profile, it is really interesting to see that you actually have a bachelor degree in textile design, which might be kind of like the contrary at times when you're thinking about stereotypes around football. Just a question out of curiosity, was your work related to sports or football back then? Maybe related to the fashion side of sports?
Yes, that's everyone has questioned me that for a long time, and you said a very important word, that it's stereotypes. And I think one of the best tips my mom gave me once is that you don't get to build a label. Why should I have a label? Why should I be a person that gets to choose or football or textile design? And I was that woman that chose both. But here's the meaningful part. No, okay? The question was your work related to sports? And no. And the answer is simple. There was no football degree. And back days, as a woman, building a football career was unimaginable. So the idea of being part of the game was only as an amateur player in college, no? Design and fashion were my hobby. So at the time it felt that it was a smart choice. And as the years passed by and I kept playing, I knew that something didn't fit. I mean, I was studying my hobby, but it wasn't my passion. There was always something that made me question everything. First thing was that that I was never going to be or to make it in design profession. I simply didn't have talent. But I discovered styling and all the possibilities that could come with that revelation. But we can talk about that further on. The important thing is I didn't get the chance, and I didn't get the chance. That probably meant that a whole bunch of women didn't get it right. And I questioned myself, what if I wasn't normal? Were there other women that came of pursuing a career in sports? Where are they? I mean, what a mystery. It was a struggle back then. And 17 years later, where do we stand by? I mean, I'm speaking to you guys that you study a master's degree on sports, and there's so many options out there now. If you want to play the game, if you want to manage the competition, if you want to analyze the data, and so on, we are part of the bigger picture now, and we're breaking barriers to build a path. So things change. So they can get the chance to choose. The girls get that chance now, and we get to change the question for what if and evolve it as a statement for I want.
Yeah, amazing answer, because one of our goals here in this podcast is exactly this, is to portray these stories like yours, to say to the little girls now that they don't have to wait the time you waited for to pursue your dream. They had to turn the invisible visible, as you said, off camera here or off recording. This is what we need to do. We are part of the bigger picture, but we need to make more and to portray these stories for the girls now. If they want to be something in football that is not related on the pitch, they can be it outside of it. So we need to portray these stories for them to start this dream. It's exactly what you said. Let's try to break up with the what if and be part of the bigger picture, as you said. And there was a time after your involvement with textile design area, you pursued your dream. You decided to specialize yourself in football business with a master's degree at Johan Cruyff Institute. This is a pathway change. It's another industry. So you pursued your dream. It was this that made you change the pathway. But as you said, there was a lot of stereotypes. What made you do this? Because sometimes we are afraid to do it. We prefer to stay calm and stay home and not go to and challenge ourselves. It was some special thing that happened that you said, no, I will leave everything and I will do it.
It is it was a combination of things. No, first of all, it's about the same tip my mom told me about the labels and about challenge. You just said it. Challenge always your limits. And it was funny because it was my destiny, but sports gave me, and also I'm privileged because my family also supported me, but sports gave me the skills to not only challenge the limits, but also choosing and making smart decisions that could build my path and my destiny. And look, it's curious because we were just talking about it, no? I'm that person that constantly questions everything, starting on myself. And when we got to graduate, my friends and I, my friends on my college team in college, we didn't think it was fair we stopped playing simply because there was no competition or tournament for us, and primarily for women in my neighborhood. So as I told you before, no is not my favorite word. So we built up our own competition, emphasizing all that we lacked for. It was the smart choice. I know it, and it was the easy choice. For example, we built a competition with proper fields, proper regulations, medical services, equipment, a better environment. But most important, it mattered the players matter for us. Okay, it mattered. The competition mattered. And that tiny competition we built of 10 teams, because we just simply wanted to play, became at the time the biggest women football 7 competition in Mexico. And I found my purpose. I found myself, and well, obviously my bachelor degree didn't give me the tools I needed to excel. So now there was a sport career option for me, that was that degree with the Johan Cruyff Institute. So that tournament wasn't going to manage itself, and we were just kids. We were 23 years old, and although I know that there are outstanding people who managed to have their own empire younger than we were at the time, but we had to excel ourselves, and we simply wanted to excel with better tools, no? And something we understood at the time is, because we were young women pursuing sports career in a men's world, we needed to be better and step up. And let me tell you, I was the only woman in my classroom 10 years ago. And what are the odds? Many of those classmates share my path in La Liga MX Femenil. We share that it matters for us.
Amazing story, Mariana. And actually, you after this, you try to go deeper on. I mean, we have found out that professional women working in football, they don't stop studying. Like once they start doing something professionally, they keep doing it, and they keep receiving the most recent story and the most recent information about everything to try and keep up with the hard work and to try and reach these positions where there aren't normally women out there, or at least there aren't enough women portrayed out there for us to find out. And you took a course in women's football development at the University of Canberra, which was developed by the Australian Football Association. Can you tell us what kind of outcomes you took from this experience? And maybe especially if you were able to kind of like benchmark between the process that was going on in Mexico and the things that happen in the Australian panorama?
I don't know if it's something about women. I don't know if it's because the lack of opportunities, but I always try to surround myself with people that wants to step over, excel, learn every single day. And that's the team we've built in La Liga MX, and we're part of it, no? We are surrounded by people that it's passion and they love the game. It's not that important if you're the businessman. It needs to matter. And the reason we keep studying and excelling is because we want to build the best competition, and we want to give the better tools, right? And this course you're talking about with the Australian Football Association, actually, the Australian invited the Mexican Federation to participate, and at the time that the FMF, how we usually call it, gave me the chance to travel and learn on best practices, but also share insights of the women's game in Mexico. It was a great team. It was Federation of Australia, Korea, Turkey, Malaysia, and us, right? And we found out two great insights. First of all, the importance of the women athlete in Australia. studies and research focused in women's sports, and specifically of swimming and football, yield interesting data that allow them to excel their sports performance. We saw it at the Olympics, and now, believe me, we will be able to witness it at the 2023 World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. No? Mm-hmm. So they specialize in the women athlete. But on the other hand, and the most resourceful and meaningful one, is that the objectives set, the strategies that we established on investment and development in women's football in Mexico was a breakthrough. We knew that in the future it would put us in the spotlight. I'm convinced that along with our stakeholders and shareholders, we will be able to achieve outstanding results. And now we still know we are on the right pathway. And for example, just last week, we heard the news from Grupo Pachuca about Leon's team building a new sports facility, La Esmeralda. If you can Google it, it's an amazing project. And they did it with Pachuca, with Team Pachuca. And now they're going to do it with Leon, that they will build an infrastructure just for women's team. So that's another milestone, right? And those were great insights.
This is amazing. And we need more and more examples like this to appear in the women's football world and give the conditions and the infrastructures for them to develop. But after this experience you had with the Australian Football Association, you studied coaching, sports, and physical performance. So after you specialized yourself in football business in general, you decided to go deep on the tactical and physical part. Why did you take this step? What kind of value do you see today of having this experience to your curriculum?
It's the same thing we were talking about. No, I'm convinced that you need to be a specialist in whatever you choose to be in order to identify opportunities, get to know your advantages, but also strengthen your weaknesses. And at the time, we were identifying our opportunities that would help us to achieve our goals and what challenges we were going to face. And the most important one was education and coaching. Okay, in Mexico, or in Spanish, we have the word formación, that usually in the English language it's called education, but it's kind of a mix of education and development, right? And I had the experience as a player, I had the experience as a manager, but not the coaching part. And coaching is one of the pillars of the game. They get to guide our players. It's so important. And if they don't have the best tools to step up, our players will not be able to step up either. And therefore, we won't be able to boost our competition. And the only way I believe we can enhance is learn the basics in order to question the specialists. Now I have the basis to question our strategies in order to build a coaching path and to strengthen the game. That's the reason.
You have mentioned before already some of the experiences that you had while working, but there's something that we really want to encourage here, which is being an entrepreneur. I think we have heard this in the business world. It has become kind of like a buzzword, and everyone mentioned that they are entrepreneurs, but actually you were the co-founder and CEO of BISU, which means in Spanish, Vive y Sueña Football, which is kind of like life and dream football. And we're just curious about, why did you decide taking this step? I mean, normally we know that entrepreneurship is kind of like a hard thing to accomplish when you don't have like economic resources to back out, or I don't know. I mean, I know Mexico is a big country in football, and I'm sure that there was plenty of people interested in that, or where they have foundations related to football and other social areas. And just I'm trying to find out and ask you. We want you to tell us why taking this path, and what was the main purpose of this company.
I know it might seem that it's a toughest answer, but it's actually very simple. So if for us it was not fair, we couldn't keep playing, and no one was going to give the importance and no one took the matter in their own business of building us a tournament. So if they were not going to build it, it was easy. We were going to build it, okay? And for those who don't know about it, Visu is a sports agency we co-founded, no, my friends and I, the players in college, my team players that I was just talking about. And we started with a tiny 10 teams tournament that we launched. And eventually there were so many women that wanted to play that we actually didn't know about. And that tournament eventually turned out to be the biggest women football tournament at the time. We played Football 7, no? 7 against 7. It was 2010. It was South Africa's World Cup, I remember. And that became also, it led to building a women's football academy in our neighborhood where, as a girl, playing football was frowned up, okay? The main goal was that we wanted to continue playing, no? But the goal became a bigger purpose. It wasn't about me or my friends. It was about each female player having the same chance to dream and shine. I mean, we should never have to be brave to play. It's a human right. Sports provides tools and skills for life, and we should have the opportunity to decide whether we want to choose the ball or the doll, no? It's simple math. And Bisu became that, simply an alternative, better chances, better decisions, better opportunities to shine. And there were 5,000 women in Mexico that choose the ball back then. And we had 200 girls in the academy. So you remember the questions that I made myself every day, if I was crazy, if I was the only one with those dreams. And I found them. I had the opportunity to meet people that share the same dream, and that they were also fighting the system, trying to change the rules. And I believe sports is a vehicle for change. And we didn't know why at the time. Now I know it, no? But we wanted to change the rules, change the game, and we did it. And eventually it led me to the FMF. So just a few days ago, one of the Liga MX Feminil former players sent me a picture of the Visu trophy in 2010. And the feeling was, guys, I can't explain it, but you see many of the professional players played in our tournament, and look how far we are now. They are brave enough to challenge their limits, challenge society, and now they are role models, heroes. Amazing, no?
Yeah, it's breaking barriers. You basically had a lot of babies, and now they are adults playing football and being professional. I believe this is an amazing feeling. And Viso was in 2010, but 5 years later, you started working for the Mexican Federation. In between 2015 and 2016, you were the National Amateur League Supervisor at the FMF. What this position was all about? What were your responsibilities back then?
No, Visu was, I remember 2009, because when it became the biggest tournament, we already had 6 months developing the small tournaments. And yes, for the Women's World Cup Canada 2015, I think it was March. Yes, I became the National Amateur League Supervisor. And I had many responsibilities regarding amateur leagues, not only women but also boys. But not women, because we were focusing on the grassroots, no? And the most gratifying one of my responsibilities was that I was able to develop from the ground the female national amateur league along with an amazing team. I got to develop the game and show the way. There were a lot of ignorance, incomprehension, probably fear of how to develop the game. And I was part of it once, and I knew the path, and I wasn't scared. And my big responsibility was sharing that path, that light, no? And with Lucia Mijares leading the team, we created a strategy to build that pathway, the one that eventually would lead to the professional league. And we needed to start with something, identifying the players, the academies, the opportunities, the challenges, and make them visible as we started our conversation, make the visible. It started to matter, no? We had a responsibility as authorities, as football authorities with the game. So we built the strategy, and we had almost 180 teams in Mexico competing for nationals. It was U13 and U15 girls playing all over Mexico, and many of them are now professional players in La Liga MX Femenil and made it all the way to national teams. The best example is Andrea Balcazar, a national player with the youth teams, and she's a Pachuca's player, no?
I think what you're saying, it's something really important to highlight, and especially I'm speaking as a Latin American myself, which is that when you can say that women's football matters, but you need to witness that it actually matters, and you're speaking about a strategy, and I think this is where we're failing right now in each of the other countries who they haven't made the decision, the call of investing resources, hiring professional people, and building a strategy, a long-term strategy, because it's not about creating a league today and maybe tomorrow we don't have it. It's more about actually bringing people who cares, but who also know, who have worked passionately and professionally in areas who can bring good outcomes to create a strategy. And that's really important, that you're actually mentioning people who work together with you. And I think that matching amateur football with professional football, I think that's really brave. And that's why we are now following the Mexican League, because you have set an example for others regionally and also worldwide, and I really want to congratulate you on that. That's really a huge achievement.
Thank you, Maria. Thanks for the congratulations. And let me tell you that I embrace it, but there's so many people in Mexico trying to build something in this industry for the women's game. And the important thing is that we have found ourselves, and we, instead of individual efforts, we are now building something together, no? Because it's a game changer.
And you keep working on that. You kept climbing on that objectives. And in 2016, you started as the Liga MX Feminil manager. Can you tell us what were your different tasks, and especially how was the situation back then, to try and compare it to the state of football, professional football today?
Okay, in 2016, the General Assembly of La Liga MX, that is the entity that regulates La Liga MX Feminil, that's the professional entity of football, announced the launch of the Women's Professional League, and my task was focusing in strategies that develop now the professional game, no? And so we had the national teams structure, we had the amateur league, and now we had to wrap up the pathway with a professional league. So 2017, we launched the first Women Football Professional Cup with 12 teams, and a couple of months later, we launched our first season with El Apertura. That's how we called. We have a season that it is integrated by two tournaments, Apertura and Clausura, no? Mm-hmm. And for the Apertura 2017, we had 4 more teams. So in total, we had 16 teams competing for the championship. And the important thing I need to mention here is that the same teams that participate in the men's league are the same teams that participate in the women's team. And that's a breakthrough. And that's the example and the case study for other leagues, no? That's what have been resourceful for our pathway. And it was the beginning of the new era, of a new dream, although it wasn't new, but we were just making it visible, no? We were building up a new industry.
And in September 2019, you were appointed out as head of Liga MX Feminil. You have mentioned before about the 3 pillars of your working strategy for the Mexican Women's Football League. that are training and specialization in women's football, investment in the lower leagues, and usage of a technology innovation center for the development of professional footballers and coaching bodies. Would you please develop on this for our audience? What are your main objectives of this specific working strategy?
Sure. I believe we can become the best league. We in La Liga MX believe that we can become the best league in the world, but in order to achieve that goal, we need to work hard and invest in a lot of things, especially those three pillars you just mentioned in the question, no? So the challenge was not launching it, as Maria said before. The challenge now, it's the biggest challenge, I mean, is professionalizing the game. This is like the word right now. And it's simply because that's what we are missing. We needed to adapt our women players to structures that had been developing male players for 100 years and vice versa. We had to learn a lot of stuff. One of those things was that, what does it mean to professionalize the game? No, we only been competing for 3 years, and we have to level up. We have to be experts, and to become experts in whatever the field we're working in, regardless if they are players, coaches, staff, we have to reach our best performance. And the only way we can reach it is we investigate, invest, research, study, educate, train, etc. CTEC, the technology center you were talking about, will speed up the process with an appropriate development. We'll share tools and technology services that will help in the process. But remember that the average age of our players is almost 23 years old. Mm-hmm. And it's not only on the pitch, but off the pitch. And they have been competing in high performance, yes, for only 3 years, but there's also a maturity process we have to respect. On the other hand, if we want to have the best players in the world, we need to give them the tools to become the best players. And finally, but not less important, the youth program you were talking about, investing grassroots will eventually produce high performance athletes. To be the best, like, I don't know, Ada Hegerberg, Serena Williams, Simone Biles, you need to work hard, but most important, start to work in an early age, because it is a way of life. And you need to teach that way of life. And it is not fair we ask for our players to become the best athletes if we don't invest in their early age. The ultimate goal, those three pillars that work hand in hand, will help us increase and hasten the competition. Mm-hmm. Better players, better performance, happy players, happy teams will lead to a better industry, no?
Yeah, and we hope you achieve what you said in the beginning. You aim the best league. Let's hope so. Let's hope the others think as you. This is the main thing we want. And let me mention here the importance of having a structure and strategy for women's football. Something that every federation should have and should turn it visible, because we all need to know what's going on. And if there's a strategy, if there's not, if there's a plan that is followed, sometimes you don't even have access to this, and it's very important. And because of that, I want to congratulate you and your team, of course, for developing and spreading the awareness of the strategy, because only with that we can reach more and more girls, and we can aim high, achieving milestones. And I'm living in Europe, so I don't have a lot of information from Mexico regarding to some achievements with women's football. But actually, this week I saw a commercial campaign in which the slogan is "Let's change the game." This campaign used for the first time in Mexico. I don't know if I'm right. I think I got information with a reliable resources, but this campaign used for the first time in Mexico women's national team players to feature in a commercial campaign. And this is a huge achievement, and a signal that something is being done right inside the women's football structure. And this was an achievement, but for sure there's more to come. And so, Mariana, beside this one, so you cannot choose this one, what is the biggest achievement in Mexico panorama that you point out now? And What are the next steps at Liga MX Feminine?
I know I can't choose it, Katia, but it's part of it. We need to continue to invest on those pillars we just talked about. No, we need time. We have to be patient. Along the way, we'll learn a lot of things, and like every machine and every body, we have to work hard. But in that pathway, if we learn something that it won't give skills or tools to achieve that goal, we will have to change it, no? So we need to keep up building structures and provide the best tools and elements to respond to this great challenge through professionalizing every area and stakeholder in the industry of the professional women's game. But let's talk about more romantic things, okay? If we need to talk about achievements or those milestones you're talking about and what you were just talking about, the campaign, it's definitely our fan base. They are responsible of putting the spotlight in Mexico. They elevate the conversation, they commit with the players, and vice versa. We made them visible thanks to our fans. I mean, we held the record in 2018 of the biggest attendance in women's football league game. We were like 53,000 people in that stadium, El BBVA, that it's home for the Rayadas and Rayados. And they are completely in love with our players. And the most beautiful thing of all is that it is mutual. Our players are starting to understand the responsibility of being a game changer, of being role models. I mean, as an industry, we have the responsibility now to give back to those that bet on us, to our players, to our fan base. We have the responsibility to give back the best competition we can possibly build. And that's our main goal.
Actually, Mariana, we're coming to the end of the episode, so sadly, I know. but actually, when we were researching about your profile, I really wanted to leave this question to the very end because, and I know Katia will laugh at me, it's because I love this the profile that you portray and that we can see in the research and that you have just told us. I mean, is the possibility of making choices, bold choices, but actually kind of like making them simple, sound simple, because at the end of the day, we have to stop celebrating that women make choices. We need to normalize it. That's the thing, that we need to stop surprising that there is someone working in a men's world, because it is not a men's world, it is a man and women's world, it is a human's world. So we need to try and normalize these kind of stories. But since you were mentioning the next steps of Liga MX, and we're also aware of the many challenges for leagues everywhere in the world, and one particularly is definitely the sponsorship side. We are unable to find sponsors for the leagues, probably and I'm speaking about the Colombian case, for example, is because there is a lack of formality. You are not able to know, for example, that you will have the league in February, like the men's league, like that's for certain, but with the women's league, you're still kind of like in the doubt because they need to decide between a bunch of stakeholders. And it is impossible for the private sector to try and work with that. It's not impossible, but it's quite hard to try and bet on that in that kind of uncertainty. So since you are kind of like an expert on consulting, image consulting and fashion in football, do you think there is an economic opportunity for these areas if they decide supporting and sponsoring women's football?
I love this question. I love it.
Yes.
Okay. The answer is yes. And that is why I actually chose to study a master in styling and image consulting. No, I believe, and that was after the Johan Cruyff. And I believe that it is a great tool for anyone to build and achieve your goals. No, it's the personal styling for every huge star is normal. So why shouldn't an athlete have one? No. Nowadays, athletes are not just high performance players, they are also a brand. They become role models and game changers. And the goal of image consulting and styling is to aim for the best person you can possibly be. And as a result, and not only at the outside, no? and as a result, you become the best role model, an ambassador for global brands, and that will always have a return on that will always have a return of investment. So imagine that now, no? Global brands have the opportunity to choose a woman that seeks to become the best player, the best person, the best role model. Because, for example, our players in Mexico, our professional players, they also have bachelor degrees. They're architects, engineers, communications, management, etc. It's simply amazing. And at the end, the most important thing is the best result is that you will invest on yourself to become the best you can possibly be. And that gives you the possibility to become the best leader, to guide and share, and what you have accomplished in the way and how others can accomplish it too. And the star you become, now little girls can be able to dream of becoming you, and that's a huge responsibility. So yes, image consulting will boost their image, and yes, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, Mariana, amazing words. Let me clear my image here. No. No, it's that I'm always joking with Maria because of that, because she's more related to fashion and football too. She wants to aggregate both. And for example, I'm more related to history and football. And this is all what football is all about. What women's football is all about is you want to choose which pathway you want. If you like this and you want to conjugate it with the football, why not? It's possible and it's there. And for example, you have, of course, I will give a big example, but we have to follow these big examples that have the opportunity and they have the infrastructures and resources to do it. PSG, they are doing it. They are aggregating image and fashion with football, and they turned up a bigger brand because of that. And let's be realistic, because PSG, of course, was always a big club in France, but they only have 50 years of history. And if we look now, they are big. Of course, there's a lot of money coming in, but also there's a bet in the fashion side that is huge all over the world. Maybe if you go to Asia and you ask someone about PSG, they will connect with the Nike and Jordan brand, and maybe they will not connect with football. Football played itself. So this is a great thing to grow. Not only the game, not only the brand itself, but also the fan base, as you were talking about before. So why not also in women's football aggregate both things? So I think my image is cleared up now. So Mariana, we are reaching the end of this episode, and thank you so much for sharing your pathway with us and our audience. And congratulations on the amazing work you've been doing in Mexico. And we hope to see the Mexican national team and the teams in Mexico overall in the future flying high and in the major competitions. Because when you have a structure and you have a consistent base, you'll reach high positions for sure.
Maria Laura and Katia, thank you. I just want to wrap up with keep shining, as FIFA says, normalize the conversation, make the invisible visible. And thank you for having me. And remember to follow us also in Twitter, no? YouTube, Facebook, if you want more info, and at Liga BBVA Femenil. And don't ever miss a chance to shine up.
So to all of you who listen to us, thank you for being with us, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter with the name 2 Goals Podcast. Thank you and take care.